Now what we're hearing investors say is, I need to see a believable path to profitability in 12 months. They can believe it again, not just saying, wow, you're gangbusters growing, you're burning $1 million a month, $10 million a month, $100 million a month. And then seeing that top line grow. Now it's like, whoa, let's check out that bottom line. Now all of a sudden the game is different.
Pretty pumped up about this week's episode. Two people that I am business partners with are on the show today. And, I tend not to bring my business partners on or companies I'm invested in. I don't want to feel like, I'm pushing stuff that I'm invested in. And that's the only reason I have them on. But these two individuals, I got to tell you, as I've worked with them as an early investor and part of their advisory board over the last couple of years, it's impressive. It's very impressive what they did. And Austin Cohen and I had lunch recently, and some of you told me it was I was staying at a hotel. Don't ask me why. Billy McFarland from the Fire app tried to tell me this is the part of the city to stay in. It's called the Seaport area. And I've had other people tell me another word for that is the Lower West Side. You don't really want to stay over there. But anyhow, this is how I knew Austin was a team player, because he drove 40 minutes in Manhattan traffic to come meet me in my neck of the woods. And we had a great conversation and said, you know what, I got to bring you guys onto the podcast because you're doing a great job with everything with FlexIt. And we're going to get into all of that. But, networking and who we come across, comes across us in different ways. Justin Turetsky is one of the founders that's also on the show today. And he and I met through some other people. And, we like those people or whatever, but him and I have become much closer than than we each of us are with the people we met through. And we've just gotten along great. He's a former athlete. We have a lot in common. He was just making a joke off air here before we came on about what we see out there in social media land sometimes, and how my material tends to be a little different. I'm not out there talking about, the abundance in the universe, and I'm a coach coaching coaches and all that kind of shit. And we get a little laugh. So it just kind of cracks me up how paths cross and how people become business partners. But I'm going to give you a quick introduction here. The company is FlexIt, and we have two founders today. Justin Turetsky is on the founding team, and he is the COO. Much of Justin's professional experience lies in company growth and expansion of large global law firms and emerging tech companies. Before FlexIt, he worked on international domestic expansion efforts for M&A and private equity practices of global law firms. He also has experience in finance and risk management, has served on nonprofit organizations such as America Needs You and Center for Family Representation. There's a lot I could say about Justin, but I do want to throw in one more bullet point here, Justin. He is a former competitive ice hockey player and fitness enthusiast, which really makes a lot of sense for what your company is. And he's partnered with Austin Cohen. Austin Cohen's an entrepreneur and innovator who has helped build market-leading franchises in the private aviation and health and wellness sectors. And Austin, we have a funny thing we're going to share with the audience on the private aviation piece. He's drawn upon broad-based skills and experience in strategy, business development, finance, and capital raising to create strong consumer demand. He's the founder and the CEO of FlexIt. I also want to mention that he's actively involved in Columbia Business School's Eugene Lang Entrepreneur Center, serving as an advisor and a board member and also an investment committee member. And I don't know if I'm going to be stealing any thunder, Austin, if we're allowed to talk about the invitation you gave me that I'm just flattered about with Columbia Business School. So without any further ado, the two executives from FlexIt, from Manhattan, Austin and Justin, welcome to 2000% Raised.
Thanks for having us, John. And I was going to just say that I think our bios are longer than your book.
Hey, listen, I get to the point, buddy. I get to the point. Unlike your, well, listen, Austin's was another 2 paragraphs that I left out. He's additionally a startup track advisor, guest lecture.
We'll do it right there. JC, it's good to be here. It's been a minute since we had you on our podcast, and I don't think anybody's ever. I am impressed with what you've done here. Jumping, we never doubted, but you jumped in to the podcast game and 2,000% raise, and getting big on social media really, really quickly.
Well, I'm happy to have done it, man. And Austin, let's just share our little story with the audience. Then Austin Reese, he's a guest lecturer, and I'm assuming adjunct professor, right, Austin, at Columbia Business School, and he's asked me to come in and give a talk to their MBA students, and I'm like, Austin, you've seen my social media clips. You've listened to the podcast. I'm not quite the academic type here, man. Is this going to go over well, or are these kids going to try to eat me alive? I'm picturing a bunch of 30-year-olds with pocket protectors just attacking my every other word.
Well, I did hear that you recently gave a talk to 900 middle schoolers. Did I get that right? Middle schoolers?
It's true, my friend.
And you're still standing. You're still standing. I think part of the beauty of what you've done on social media, and I'm excited for this to get harnessed up at Columbia Business School, my alma mater, and the school is so involved in flexing our business, and we like to joke, but really behind half of every joke is truth. Justin inherited his MBA from CBS. It's just how real you are. And I think whether it's middle schoolers, if it's MBAs, and if it's just the folks who are following you on social, just giving it to people real. You're not sugarcoating it. You're not fronting anything on there. And so there's always haters, in anything and everything. But I think by and large, and I mean, you tell us what, comes into your inbox, people just appreciate that you've been successful and that you're just trying to equip them to become their best selves.
You know what's funny, man? I totally agree. And when it comes to talking in front of an audience too, and we have yet to prepare what I'm going to lecture your students about, but I'll tell you what, with the 900 eighth graders, I said, I started off with a picture of me and a few different people just to get the kids' attention. Tyreek Hill and me were in a picture together, and these kids, they didn't give a shit that Tyreek was great at football. They gave a shit that he's awesome at Fortnite and he's on Twitch all the time. I had those eighth graders locked in immediately because of that. Had no idea it was going to resonate like that with them. So I'll come up with something that 25-year-old to 32-year-old New York City Columbia Business School kids probably are interested in.
I got you one better than the 900 middle schoolers. The photo
of
Tyreek Hill. So we've done a lot of work with Terrell Owens at FlexIt, and I think that we should sell tickets to JC versus Tyreek Hill in the 40. Have you seen that video of T.O.?
Wait.
Have you seen that video?
Wait. Yeah. So was this the one where he beat the Olympic star? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it was Tyreek and T.O. raced each other, and there was this whole thing about them doing it again. And
also it's funny on this.
T.O. couldn't take down Tyreek, JC, but you might be able to.
Yeah, if you Google FlexIt, Terrell Owens, you can see the video where he takes his first session on FlexIt. That was one of our best performing videos, over 100,000.
Oh, nice.
Which is really awesome. And the trainer, when he's working out, T.O. goes, "This is no joke." And then he goes, "This is how you beat Tyreek Hill." And he goes, "This is how you beat anybody." So that was like the best, most real quote, supporting kind of what we're trying to do at FlexIt, bringing live two-way fitness and wellness sessions, nutrition, low impact wellness to consumers. And T.O. tried it. We have Jason Terry, who's one of our ambassadors and head of athletic performances. We have gold medalist Carly Lloyd.
Carly Lloyd, 2-3 days after retiring, hit her workouts through FlexIt to make sure she didn't drop off. So we want to help you, JC, above all else. We want to help you beat Tyreek Hill.
I'm going to tell you what. So I met Terrell Owens in February at this RX3 event, this flag football game. He was there. The dude's he's a monster. He's a much different looking wide receiver than freaking Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill looks like a little track star. T.O. looks like a freaking grown ass man football player. All right.
T.O. is in amazing shape. He truly loves fitness and exercise and working out. Influential in the fitness world for a long time because he was one of the first people to come out and say, I train nearly exclusively with bands, bands that have plastic bands. Like I remember being young.
That's why Justin doesn't lift weights anymore.
Yeah, I was a fan. I remember seeing that he got me introduced to bands and bodyweight workouts, and that's something my whole life. And like that was the first time I ever thought about exercising in that way. It's like with intention, not just when I played hockey, college hockey, they call that off ice training. But I actually saw that like not like an extra thing you do, but a way to train is focused on body weight and more low impact resistance and other things that not just lifting heavy weights. I mean, you probably when you were training, for your college career and beyond, I know that you also had some interest from NFL teams, and you were also with injury, which was really difficult and really tragic career. But you were probably thinking, okay, I got to go squat as much as I can, bench as much as I can, and deadlift as much as I can. Everything was around lifting heavy a few times, almost regardless of position. And fitness has changed so much since then, where you kind of a more holistic view to your health and across nutrition, sleep, a variety of different things. And that's kind of how we built our platform to have this interconnected view on health and wellness that connects all these modalities and gives you a personalized coach and experience that's driven by live two-way communication to deliver success.
Yeah. Well, and let's take a step back too and like walk through this, because really for our audience, this is why I wanted them on here. Okay. We hear a lot about a lot of businesses that were born during the pandemic. We hear a lot of businesses that went out of business during the pandemic. What Justin and Austin have is a business that did exist pre-pandemic, but because of the pandemic, they pivoted and really changed the model. Since the pandemic, I will let them speak to this. People that are in the venture capital space that need to raise money's gotten a lot tighter. As we like to say, there's very little dry powder out there right now. So it's forced a lot of founders to pivot even further. Just because with interest rates high, money ain't cheap right now. So I'd kind of like to start off there. Maybe Austin, maybe you could kind of tell us what was the company pre-pandemic and why did you change your model?
So we spent a real long time during 2017 looking at consumer access points, food, transportation, hospitality from 2010 through that. And the theme that really stuck with me was that we have been empowered, specifically millennials and Gen Zers, to access like this at our fingertips, using our smartphone, hyper a la carte, where we want when we want. I want to get into a car and go somewhere. I get off a plane and I don't need a car service anymore. I know I'll be able to get an Uber to take me wherever I'm going in the world. I want food from Nobu right now, and whatever city I'm in, I know I can get it on Caviar, right? So we have been conditioned to access what we want, where we want it in a la carte. In the fitness industry, which is an area that Justin and I bonded over since college, we met playing hoops. You might be able to see here, I got about a foot on him. We met playing hoops first day of college. I clearly took it down
4 inches.
But we used to go at each other's gyms, and he'd try to get into mine and pretend to be my brother, and I tried to get into his. So the whole thing, it's hard to get into each other's gyms to lift together. And I really couldn't understand, or wanted to better understand in 2017, why the way that millennials and Gen Zers were accessing gyms was not in line with how they were accessing hyper a la carte, their food, their transportation, their hospitality. And so we really dug in on it, and we learned that at boutique fitness studios, boxing, boot camp, you could a la carte get those experiences. But still, if you wanted to hit the bench, you were in a new city, you couldn't just walk off the streets to go to any gym you wanted to. So we put together a model that worked for consumers and for gyms, traditional gyms, places with large cardio and strength training setups, where you could walk into a gym anywhere in the country, any time of day, and pay purely for the minutes in the facility. So if you walked off the plane in LA and you wanted to shower for 10 minutes, you pay for 10 mints of time. If you're in Arizona and you want to play hoops and hang out at the pool for 3 hours during the summer, you could pay for 3 hours worth of time. No tour, no pay. Don't talk to anybody. Don't have to stop your feet when you walk in there. And we are the published patent holders of pay-per-use access to gyms, and we've brought thousands of gyms onto our platform: Gold's Gym, Crunch Fitness, Blink Fitness, all these amazing brands across the country over the last few years. But for us, the unimaginable, and we're still running that business now, it's a profitable business line, but the unimaginable happened for us in March 2020, which was every gym in the country closed, and at the same time and for the foreseeable future. So we had to figure out, were we just going to hunker down or were we going to do something new? And necessity breeds innovation in my mind. So many good companies, Uber, MailChimp, Microsoft, have come out of difficult times. We paused. We looked around. We were getting pressure to monetize recorded live stream content, so one-way communication. We took our time. We didn't react quickly, and we found our opportunity. We've got mentors, teachers during the pandemic, telemedicine, teletherapy, socializing through FaceTime, doing meetings through Zoom. So two-way communication took off. But in the fitness space, it was asynchronous. So if you're using Peloton, right, hardware, if you were watching a YouTube video, the ways that we were accessing our fitness during the pandemic were all asynchronous. So we decided to bring a synchronous, a two-way communication modality to other wellness experiences. And we shifted again 18 months ago, as you alluded to. We've been hyper focused on profits over growth. And we're focused on increasingly becoming a health business and not just a fitness business. And that's the future of our company, right? Pushing more into telehealth, helping people to lose weight, becoming more of a holistic health provider and not just a fitness provider. And like Justin said, it's not just fitness training here, right? We all know it's not just, John, you were an athlete. One day, I still believe your NFL career is coming. That's the 5,000% raise. But we're about low impact wellness, nutrition, physical therapy. So we keep our head on a swivel. We have relentless conviction in ourselves and flexibility to figure it out. But as an entrepreneur, you have to take what's thrown at you in the market signals. And we've learned a lot. It's forced us to become a better business from pandemic to market shift 18 months ago.
So Austin, if your company was pre-pandemic, exactly what you just described, with access to places where you're not a member, and these are physical locations, and then you shifted to personal gyms through your app, okay, like one-on-one or personal training. I mean, that's a big freaking shift. So did you have to just go after, like, I mean, what did you do? Like just recreate everything at that point? I'm assuming the technology was not the same. There was nothing the same about it.
We became trainers and we started training everybody.
Well, what actually happened was the pandemic, I mean, we can't forget. I mean, maybe we blocked it out at this point, but it was pretty dark days in the middle of March. Just tell you where we were at as a company. We had just launched the 4th location of Solid Core, which is a premium Pilates studio. We did a launch event with them on 57th Street by the water. Beautiful, incredible facility. And we had some people start to drop out and say, hey, I heard about this virus, this COVID thing. I'm not going to come to your launch event. And then by the next Friday, everything in the country was closed, every single gym. Our revenue was actually doubling month over month. We reached over $1 million in ARR on that business, and that went to zero. It was like, let me tell you how this is our inbox. Early on, me and Austin had all the receipts go to our inbox. So every time it was like ding, 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 ding. And then like code, ding, ding, ding. And it's like ding, 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 and it just died. We watch like, because I'm a serial failed entrepreneur, and I've been dying to have a business that have real revenue, real customers, and also keep pushing it. We can't stop. We got to keep moving forward. We feel like we get there, we're having this hockey stick growth, and then COVID just rips the plug out. It's like you're vacuuming and you accidentally pull the plug out and it just dies. And that's what happened with COVID. And look, I mean, at that time it was difficult, but you said it's a big shift. But we are already working closely with some major gym chains like Blink, for example, and Solid Core and Camps, Physique 57, a lot of these awesome fitness and boutique brands and big box gyms. And they just had furloughed or laid off 95% of their trainer staff. So bring back some of those people and we'll go sell their sessions on Zoom. Let's see if we could do it. And then once we had some early traction, we pitched to investors and said, hey, we need the money to build a proprietary platform that's built, designed, and optimized for delivery of fitness and wellness experiences, not just Zoom or FaceTime. And that's what we call closed fleet, where we manage everything from, and you'll see on our website, if you guys check us out, FlexIt.fit, you go in, we have a quiz, we onboard you, trial session, you have a white glove service, both human and automated throughout the experience to make sure you're having a great experience. We have a closed fleet. You're not going on outside of the FlexIt app and the FlexIt website. It's all closed within your account. So we really built, people always ask how it's different than Zoom. And that's how it is that we built a system really designed for this experience.
Did you ever think about that? That's interesting. So those trainers though, Justin, you guys didn't have direct relationships with them, right? Your relationship was with the executive level to set up this plan. So did you ever think about like white labeling a platform on behalf of the gyms during this?
We did that, and we do, and that's something else we do, is that though it's not on our website, it's built for consumers. We actually have an enterprise business where we build licensed versions of our platform and our experience for gyms, for wellness companies, food and nutrition companies. We built actually incubated new social applications for personal trainers. We've done a lot of different stuff, and that helped us become a more profitable business, while the direct-to-consumer business is predictable, recurring revenue on memberships, and that's really allowed our business to thrive and grow in a tough market.
Got it. And I have to assume that enterprise business, even though theoretically during the pandemic you took their trainers from them and put them on your platform, they wouldn't really have a problem with it because they didn't have employment for them anyways, right?
Right. And then what ended up happening was we needed a 2,000% raise for FlexIt. So we said, we got to start bringing on trainers directly, because the gyms weren't really doing anything. We were just working with someone who either used to or eventually went back to working in the club. And we said, we can go find people out there that are in lower cost markets. Like the best trainer in Tulsa is an amazing trainer. The best trainer in Panhandle, Florida is an amazing trainer. But they're going to ask for a third of the money that the best trainer in LA or New York's going to ask for. And we take advantage of some of that cost arbitrage by finding customers that are typically on the coast. Our top markets are really coastal cities, typically, and connecting them with trainers in lower cost markets. And that's really creates, connecting talent with demand and taking advantage of that arbitrage. But for us, we always work with American trainers. Ideally, we do have some trainers from Canada and other countries, but we try to kind of have a made in the USA experience as much as we can.
Hey, everybody, I want to invite you to check out 2000percentraised.com. Here you could buy the 2000% Raised book, also available on Amazon. You could check out 2000% Raised merchandise, as well as 2000% Raised special events that might be coming to your city soon. Last but not least, you can enroll in the 2000% Raised curriculum, which will help you on your entrepreneurial journey. Don't forget to follow at John Cerasani on Instagram and TikTok as well. Thank you for being a supporter of the show. Okay, so what's the next logical question here, right? So we all know, all right, these businesses, you saw it a little bit with, I guess, Peloton, right? The sales were up here, and then as the pandemic died down, it came down a little bit. You hear different stories. I think there's one similar out there about Tonal, and there's a bunch of different ones out there that were kind of fitness products born out of COVID. Okay, as the pandemic's ended here, how has that impacted your business? Does it have the staying power? Do people still want to do what you were proposing?
Well, there's a whole myth about going back to the gym. There's only 70 million memberships, gym memberships. About 20 million of those actually get used, and only 10 million of them actually get used more than twice a week. You think about it, there's actually over 200 million Americans above the age of 18. So there's more.
So just my quick math here. So those 60 million people that aren't going to the gym more than twice a week are still paying the full price of the people that do. I swear, in the Midwest, we got Lifetime Fitness. They're averaging like $600 a visit on me. I think I went 3 times last year. Just
that's exactly it.
There's some, 100. There's 200 some odd Equinoxes and Lifetimes, and there's 39,000 and change other gyms in the country. So one of the things we most often got asked in the beginning here is, are you working with Equinox? And the answer was always, there's 100 Equinoxes and there's 39,900 other gyms. So we can grow a really big business without Equinox, but we, obviously we want to see if it makes sense for us to work with Equinox. So there is a myth that everyone's just going back to the gym. Now, the future of our life is the integration of the virtual world with the physical world. What I mean by that carries over from the workplace, right? So we use Zoom more than we did pre-pandemic. Whether your company is fully in person or fully remote or something in the middle, there is more of an acceptance by and large to what exists in the middle between those extremes than before the pandemic. And the same goes for fitness, which is not a zero-sum game. So what's that mean? It means if you are going to the gym every day, which is a very small portion of our population here in the States, you're still doing other things. You might use pre-recorded content. You might use your tonal or your hydro at home. There's so many different ways that people are interacting with and engaging with a fitness experience, right? The pandemic taught so many people who didn't work out that they can go for a walk, and that's engaging with fitness. So we don't believe that virtual is going anywhere. It's actually more widely adopted now. And we don't see our product as something that is to be used exclusively at home. You can use this at the gym, on the road. You can use this in a hotel room while traveling. So we really believe in the future being experiences that are supported by or powered by technologies. And that's what we're trying to do. Be an accountability partner in your pocket.
Yeah. And I think some of the hotness of this space and the industry that we're in, look, we're not going to lie to you. It's cooled off a lot, right? Money coming into this space and new companies in this space. What's happening is, you probably have seen this as an entrepreneur yourself, is that opportunity, a lot of people try and the cream rises to the top and the crappy ones get weeded out. And then you have more opportunity market share after that dip and it comes back around. And what we're seeing is report after report about virtual fitness and wellness and telehealth continuing to be projected to grow to 2030, the normalization of two-way communication across numerous aspects of our lives. We're seeing now that the most recent report that we saw from Grandview Research has the market at over $100 billion by 2030. And there's not that many major players. Peloton is now worth a few $1 billion relative to 30, 40 that it used to be at the peak. They lost a lot of value, but that value is coming back because the demand is there. And we see ourselves as in the future, it's not necessarily a fitness company, but interconnected health, which really provides you with tools and professionals, either powered by humans typically, and technology is supporting that to keep you on track, to help develop programs for your nutrition, for your fitness and overall health and wellness, to keep you accountable so you can outsource to FlexIt. And we're going to use our technology, tools, and personnel to make sure you're staying fit and healthy so you can go about in your life and not have fitness be this thing that you're always working towards. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get healthy again. I'm going to lose weight. All these things that you project out. January comes, everyone goes to the gym, everybody drops off. So we have 1, 2, or 3 sessions a week. You work out with one of our trainers or coaches, 30 minutes a day, a few times a week, and guaranteed you're going to be better off than when you started because of consistency. And you're staying consistent in your programming. You can outsource that to us.
There's a couple of things you just said there, Justin. First of all, the health and wellness space, just in general, being hot. Then, as you said, kind of cooled off. And okay, now who's coming back? The cream of the crop will rise to the top, right? But I love that you're forward thinking already with okay, where's our future? This whole integration, which kind of brings me to my next question here. All right, and in the tech space, this is such an important consideration, I guess. Ultimately, all right, if and when FlexIt has an exit, do you feel like it's going to be because of your customer base and revenue, or do you think it's going to be because more of the infrastructure you built and there's going to be just consolidation in the industry where, hey, we want that under our umbrella?
I think it depends. And we're not trying to duck the question, right? Sometimes it's not a yes or no answer. But potential, if we just think about an acquisition exit opportunity in general for businesses, buyers are always different. So a motivation for a buyer might inform what's interesting to them for whatever the business is. Some buyers are more interested in technology and patents, while other buyers might be more interested in buying revenue and buying customers, buying subscriptions. And then there's buyers who might be interested in know-how and other things across any business, not just our business. So it's much harder to say. I mean, I think with regards to our business, what's really interesting is that we're the leaders in a category where there really aren't any other players. Yep. And it delivers a maximally personalized experience that's set up for telehealth. I think what gets really interesting for us, whether it's partnership opportunity or if it's an exit at some point, a company that wants to get into our space, that's looking to tap into the uniqueness of what we have. There's obviously the subscribers we have, but the uniqueness in the offering to have a turnkey solution, right?
Yep.
To build into their machine, right? They might have users that are consuming food products for people who are trying to get healthy and lose weight, but it's not just eat in the kitchen. You also got to be putting the right behaviors in place. And that's an area where we can.
You just reminded me as you said something there, as you've acquired users, especially I guess during the pandemic. I don't know if you guys remember this. You probably do, Justin. I was in town for something else and we all got together. I was staying at the one hotel and I was outside on the damn phone. I turn around and there's like a billboard on this construction site really big of FlexIt. And did we put a lot of money into advertising at that point? I'll never forget cracking up. I was explaining to somebody how I'm going to meet with you guys, and I looked to my left, and there's a freaking billboard right there, like that. Anyway,
I say that Austin and I as entrepreneurs.
Before you say anything, he's trying to get the sauce here.
We can give your secret sauce if you subscribe to our newsletter and buy a session. Yeah, info at flexit.fit for a complimentary session. But in short, I mean, I think part of the theme of what you talk about is being an entrepreneur and pursuing control over your destiny and opportunity. Look, Austin and I are very good at marketing in a way that we find high value opportunities. Some people obsess over being able to track ROI and attribute to the exact dollar and cents. And actually, Brian Chesky from Airbnb recently came out and said, he started to spend less time trying to perfectly attribute and more time trying to create visibility, PR opportunities, getting out into the market, because there's certain magic you could tap into where sometimes, speaking of M&A and other diligence conversations that may have happened in the past, or investors, they want to say, okay, show me the exact dollars and cents, acquire every single customer every minute. And we can do that. We do it, we track clicks and all this stuff through digital, but there's something really magical about creating buzz. And when it's a combination of winning an award with both men's health and women's health within a year as the top platform, being featured in Top Sugar, Sports Illustrated, winning awards, me and Austin winning awards, also the We Pasting campaign of blitzing New York City with posters all over, like you said, construction sites. I will talk our secret sauce, but there's a way that you can, in a pretty low cost way, hire people to plaster a city. And for a month's time at about a tenth of the price of a billboard, you can have posters all over. And usually takes advantage of this because it's in a gray area of legality. Usually local art fairs, concerts, you as a business come in, bam, and you really stand out because you have a professional, clear message of what your product is. And look, that really created a lot of lift, people searching. But then having that built into a smart strategy of then someone Google's FlexIt, we have a campaign set up, geo-targeted, that when you go search for FlexIt, you will start seeing ads across all of our channels and platforms that we work with. So you might see the post, say, what's FlexIt? You Google it. And then you close it, you forgot you ever saw it. Then all of a sudden, social media feed, you get hit with an ad. You're on Google, you search for fitness workouts, you see us come on the top. We're targeting you out where you're going. And that was a part of our campaign then was really try to get in as many places at 3, 4, 5 touch points, get that customer to convert. And that We Pasting campaign was part of our strategy.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's effective too, man. It's effective. I mean, shit, I remember, I think I texted it to you. Well, we're going to talk about social media all day. When you think something, all of a sudden it pops up in your freaking Facebook. I'm not quite sure how that happens, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you about though is just in general, not necessarily about FlexIt per se. This probably did impact you, but as entrepreneurs, maybe the ones that are in their pre-seed or seed or hope to go to their Series A rounds, one of the things that I saw happening was that, when interest rates were low and money was cheap, you had a lot of people with kind of valuations that they didn't necessarily fit into, especially in that seed round and earlier. And they found themselves in a conundrum as they ran out of that money and now wanted to raise in an equity round, where they didn't want to go to their initial investors and do a down round. But money was drier and valuations, maybe some people might say valuations kind of right-sized. Others would say they, came in too low. Now that kind of the dust is settling a little bit and, the companies that were supposed to go out of business maybe have already. Are you seeing in the venture capital and angel investing space that people are starting to come more around and more open to conversations at pre-pandemic valuation levels?
I don't think it's that way. I think it's different. I think the threshold for raising capital, the expectations have changed. and it makes businesses really need to up their games. And then subsequently, what that does, it's upping the level at which a business and its executive team needs to be playing to raise capital. Profitability, not growth. And it's much harder at the pre-revenue, pre-seed, and seed stages to raise capital now. So for someone who's early, who has a concept and wants to start raising money, it's more important than ever before. For example, and I was just talking to a CPG fund's founder and managing member about this concept, that you need to really go friends and family, and even angels likely are going to be more tough, more difficult to move there. Good performing businesses with sound unit economics will be able to raise, but it's harder. It's a harder environment. Companies are, funds are making safer bets. Funds are, if they were more opportunistic in the past, writing bigger checks. There's a lot of portfolio management. I mean, I'd be curious to hear, you're an LP in funds, you have your own fund.
Yeah.
If you agree with what we're seeing, but that's by and large what we're seeing here. And in terms of valuations, I think where we level out and stabilize is in an environment, as the pendulum swings a little bit more back to where we were at some point in the future, where the valuations aren't as lofty. Things are trending towards right sizing.
And being able to know that you're a real business before having, liquidation event and opportunities for investors, where a lot of companies, like, they make it all the way to the IPOs and they're burning $100 million a quarter. They never get to prove that they can be profitable. That was always punted to the future. But now what we're hearing investors say is, I need to see a believable path to profitability in 12 months. They can believe it again, not just saying, wow, you're gangbusters growing, you're burning $1 million a month, $10 million a month, $100 million a month. And then seeing that top line grow. Now it's like, whoa, let's check out that bottom line. Now all of a sudden the game is different. But I think what negatives about this current market is when there's a lot of opportunity and investment floating around, and whether it's government programs and support from universities, from angels, when people are feeling bullish and excited, a lot of companies are getting funded, and a lot of people make that leap to that 20,000% raise that you were always talking about. Right now is a tough market too, because some people can say, well, I need a job, I got to pay my bills and all this stuff. It's like, okay, or you can have a fire under your ass, and then I'm going to go broke if I don't figure out a way to make this business work in the next 3 months to get my first customer and raise capital. And that kind of fire drives innovation, new opportunity, new businesses, new growth, not just saying, oh, when's my next vacation? I wonder if my boss is going to approve it. Not that anything's wrong with that, but when the money's not flowing, what's going to happen is a lot of good companies might not make it.
Yep. And, I always tell that to entrepreneurs I work with. It's like, hey, listen, you can raise as much capital as you want, especially in the tech, almost always in the tech space. I say something along these lines. Go get clients that'll pay you to at least subsidize the money you need to raise. Figure out some kind of application on why this makes sense for them today, even though you're not there yet. So we don't have to freaking raise this much money and dilute the shit out of yourself, because you need X. And, the valuation probably ain't going to be more than 2.5x. And, let's make it 0.5x by freaking just bringing our own revenue in the first place, make everyone's lives a lot better in the short term and the long term. And, you said something earlier there, about profitability, not growth. And I want to kind of tie that into your background a little bit, Austin. You were on the founding team of Wheels Up, the private aviation company. And I don't want to talk too specifically about them right now. I know they IPO'd their stocks in the toilet at the moment, but Wheels Up, once upon a time, I'm assuming, was raising a seed round or even a pre-seed round or friends and family. And Austin, you were part of that company as a startup and saw it go all the way to IPO. And I don't want to ask you too many questions specifically about Wheels Up, but let's say you guys got to Series D or Series E. I'm just making up shit, okay? And then it finally IPO'd. All right. How important is it for those seed round investors to remain happy with the equity raise valuation numbers for each round going upward, or at some point do you not give a shit because those guys were $100,000 checks 8 years ago, and now we're dealing with the big dogs? Like as an entrepreneur and as a founder, when do you start looking at the world that way?
Well, I'm not sure it's the way that I look at the world and the way that we look at the world. It's the same as how others look at the world. Wheels Up has a very large investor base. We had a strategy that we employed early on where we had a lot of investors, and that created virality for us. Each investor had 5 hats, 5 sweatshirts, and would hand those out. We had a lot of people, and that just created a great viral ripple for us out of the gates. I mean, we moved.
Did it work? See, you hear that, man. You hear that about like bars and restaurants. Hey, everyone throw in 10 grand and everyone run around and tell all your neighbors and friends about it. For an actual company, I mean, that's pretty cool.
I think it depends on the type of business. There's a cool business called Magic Spoon that has leveraged influencers and created virality. It's a pseudo cereal by giving each of the influencers small pieces of equity years ago to get the influencers to help sell on their behalves, right? That strategy probably wouldn't work now and today, right? But there's strategies where you can create viral moments by having the right base of people that propagate, as opposed to having just one investor. I think what it comes down to is who the operator is. You could poll 10 operators, 10 founders, and they would all have different IR, investor relations, strategies, and mindsets. You probably get a lot of entrepreneurs, John, maybe ones that you've invested in. I know you have a very different style than a lot of investors, which is appreciated by the founders. It's very founder friendly, but you get many entrepreneurs who aren't in constant contact with their investors, who aren't keeping their investors up to speed in what's going on. My view is that it's a long life, and a day, a week, a month, a year may feel long in the moment. But in the scheme of if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably going to do this multiple times. And so I believe that it's important, not just for me and Justin, but I advise all the entrepreneurs that I advise them to treat with great levels of precision and delicateness everyone on their cap table. And make sure, and it's hard to always make everybody perfectly happy in life, that everyone who's participating in that experience receives clear, constant communication about what's going on in a transparent way with the business. That those people, regardless of outcome, have as good an experience as possible, have as good a taste in their mouths about that entrepreneur and operator as possible. So those relationships go longer and extend beyond the duration of that company and being on the cap table there. So back to your question about valuation. I mean, we're always working here to make sure that we're doing best by all of our investors each step of the way, the early ones and the ones who came in most recently. And that's a hard task as a founder, to make sure that everybody's feeling like they're being treated right.
Yeah, you know what, man, it really is. I'll share an experience that I had, and it was me being green in the venture capital space, not really knowing any better. And as I look back now, the founder did some stuff that, hey, I figured this out now 2 years later, and then there's friction. And but basically, very 40,000 foot level here. The check size was big enough that I was writing to probably constitute the lead investor as the lead investor of an equity round, but instead we used it as convertible note. And here was the issue. That money was just being used to extend the growth of the company, and I was the only one willing to write a damn check, and we didn't put a cap on that convertible note. We just did a discount. So they used my money to grow the company to get to a valuation to please the early investors so they wouldn't have a down round, where for me personally, it would have been a hell of a lot better off if I demanded that equity round at that point. And this was just me being green as a venture capitalist. And it was also just me being like, oh, hey, we're all on the same team here. We all get along. And then it's like, that's fine, man. I hope this still freaking works out, but you screwed me on that. And 5, 10, 15 years from now, this person's he's under 30 years old. Let's see what happens. I mean, you're probably not going to want to go to me and my network unless this thing goes to $1 billion. And whether it was $40 million or $60 million valuation when I got in isn't going to matter. You know what I mean? So knock on wood, hopefully it does go that way. But you said something there that's so And this is probably why you're a professor, man, and talking to the future entrepreneurs of America, and some are probably existing entrepreneurs. You screw over your investors, man. Shit. It's like, how do you go back to them? These are people in those family and friends, pre-seed, seed types of rounds. We're betting on you, man. Fuck your concept. We're betting on you. And now you're going to fuck me over knowingly? Come on.
Yeah. It's a jockey bet.
Yeah.
In the early stage, right?
It really is.
You're betting on the jockey.
And I think another tip just on that point for entrepreneurs is you're not signing up, you're not promising investors that you're going to make them money. What you're really promising them is that you're going to try your absolute best, fully committed, and not give up. And I think the number one thing, a lot of people talk about the value of failure. This is my motivational speaker soundbite, so you can buy my book. But
Voice for radio.
I have the most beautiful face for radio recording this. But it's just that it's not that you shouldn't, that failure is a good thing, right? People say, you can try and you fail, I see it differently because I've tried and I've failed because I've had a pretty low threshold for risk or tolerance for risk when I've had other companies. I think the difference with FlexIt is I just refuse to stop. And
right.
I think that's my commitment to investors, both personal capital, family and friends, and also the investors and business partners like you and others that we met along the way, is that I want to make sure that I can't promise I'm going to make you millions of dollars, but I will promise that I will try my absolute best and my hardest every day, and I refuse to fail, refuse to give up. But I can't say what will definitely happen to FlexIt, things that are out of my control, but I'm never going to give up and never going to stop. And that's my commitment to investors.
And that's relentless conviction in yourself and figure it out for the company. Not necessarily relentless conviction in how we're selling and delivering this specific business line today as the future comes.
Yeah. You can have micro failures on the way, like picking the wrong business, the wrong monetization strategy, the wrong whatever.
Yep.
But
that just makes you better.
That's where you have little failures. Is you're like, oh, I should monetize this for the membership, not as an e-commerce product that you buy once every 6 months, but charge people a little bit of money every month. And how do I monetize that way? And that's like a micro failure that you learn from and pivot. But I'm not a big fan of like, oh, you're going to fail and that's great for you. No, trying is great, but not giving up is even better. And like that relentless pursuit of trying to make it work is what makes entrepreneurs successful.
Wow. That's great insight, man. That's great insight. I got to tell you, I'm in a couple deals that, actually 2 that have gone south already. And one of them particularly, it's like, I go, motherfucker. And it was something like in the social environment too, like in a pop culture kind of thing. It's like, dude, you didn't even fucking post about this on your own fucking Instagram, you motherfucker. Like, seriously, you're going to take my money? You let this thing fucking die when we needed interaction? Well, it just wasn't going to work. And so you and your freaking shitty ass 5,000 followers, you didn't even bother to tell them about your fucking company? Fuck you. And I literally said that to the guy. And what's so funny about it is 7 months later, oh, he has something new he's raising money for. And I'm like, dude, have you lost your freaking mind? You didn't even yell your old company from the top of the mountaintops. Like, are you nuts? Are you nuts? And this is me, man. Justin, that's why I like working with you, bro, because you're a competitor. Okay, you want to see things freaking win, and it's going to take a lot to close the door on FlexIt if it ever comes to that. And you're going to keep pivoting, keep trying to find a freaking way. And a lot of people aren't built that way, man. It's a lot of people aren't built that way, and for
your company, I know people, they'll talk shit and the haters are going to hate. But how many doors you get slammed in your face when you reach out to try to get your first client?
From my company?
Yeah.
Oh God, it was terrible. I mean, I had a value proposition built. I was a little bit different because I wasn't really inventing a new space. I was just trying to coexist in insurance. And I kind of felt working at the big corporations, I had a value proposition that looks and feels a little bit different. So that worked. What screwed me up a little bit was when I got outside of my focus. I had a focus on higher education institutions, but I'm like, well, shit, if it's working here, I could expand this and I'll start going to like factories and manufacturing companies and just any kind of employer. And yeah, it's not. I was like, after about 50 of those things, like, you know what, I'm going to focus just on colleges and do that do that well. It's where I started. I tried to do the opposite of what you guys have done. I tried to pivot to make it bigger, and it made me just go back to basics. But like, think about that though, bro. Like, what a good tech. I mean, Amazon started off as a bookstore, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of tech companies that have stories like that, right?
100%.
Yeah.
2000%.
All right, listen, we end it with this. You guys both got to give me an answer. All right. You recommend what movie to the 2000% race audience?
Air just came out, and big Nike fan here. Shoe Dog, Phil Knight, founder of Nike's book. Incredible, inspiring story of entrepreneurship. And I think a combination of both really hits home at a lot of the ground that we covered here today. So Air, and pair that with Shoe Dog, Phil Knight's memoir.
Awesome.
I have this encyclopedia of a book. It's called The Portable MBA in Entrepreneurship. And
okay.
Reference guide that whenever I've thought about companies or I've been in a particular different phase, I have this by my bed. I'm serious, it's by my bed all the time. And I just before bed, I grab it and just thumb through different chapters. But it's just this massive book that, I don't want to pay for an MBA. So I got one from Austin, and I bought this book on Amazon 10 years ago. That's right. So that's my favorite book for business.
Well, there you go. We got a movie and a book. Justin and Austin, thank you for joining 2000% Raise. And that wraps up another episode of 2000% Raise. Thank you for listening. The best way to support our show is by leaving a rating or review on all platforms you listened on. And of course, by following, liking, or subscribing. Visit us at 2000percentraise.com or at John Cerasani on TikTok and Instagram. And of course, my YouTube channel at John Cerasani's 2000% Raise. Find all the ways to follow today's guests in our show notes. Thank you for being a part of our entrepreneurial journey.